Welcome to Transport Infrastructure Committee meeting 824. We have a full complement of member councillors, and we also welcome Councillor O'Neill, Councillor McDonald, Councillor Bailden-Lumsden, and also our Deputy Mayor, Councillor Gates. We have quite a hefty agenda today, so there's no apologies, no leave of absence, confirmation of minutes. We might star that and we'll go through. Any conflict of interest declarations? I haven't received any prior to the meeting.
Madam Chair, just on that, a copy of the major public transport initiatives update wasn't provided to us until this moment, so very difficult to get across any potential conflicts. I've just had a flick through it, and I regard all matters being so broad that they affect a significant number of people in the local government area, and on that basis I don't propose making any declarations. But I just wanted to flag with councillors that that's my approach. I'd expect it might be the same for all others.
Okay. No conflicts, all right, happy with that. Thank you, Councillor Vorster. On our agenda today, we've got new starred items. Did we want to star any at all? Councillors?
Sorry, you said we had
no starred items. I'm looking at the wrong page, that's why. I'm looking at the minutes. Yes. Sorry, apologies. Yeah, unstar 7.1. Sorry, councillors. So we've got start is 5.1, 6.1, 6.2, 6.6, and that's it. Thank you. So moved by Councillor Peter Young and seconded by Councillor Owen Jones. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, is it worth unstarring 6.6 just to have a brief discussion on it?
Did you had questions, did you?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Unstar 6.6. So councillors' starred items are 3, 5.1, 6.1, 6.2. So moved by Councillor Peter Young, seconded by Councillor Owen Jones. All those in favour? That's carried. Thank you. Councillors will go to item 6.3, which is petition in response to the closure of Reserve Street and construct the missing link of Tabalban Street. And I think Nick may be coming up to either give us a little presentation or just to answer some questions if there are any. Over to you, Nick.
Thanks, Madam Chair. You may recall we received a petition in January 2021 from the community of Koala Park, which is a residential estate located to the south of the Burleigh Heads Activity Centre. We reported that petition in June 2021 and said that there were benefits and disbenefits of what the petition was proposing, and to go away and do a comprehensive study of the Koala Park area. That study has now been complete. Very, very comprehensive study, hence the reason why it's taken so long. And we're here today to report on the outcomes of the study, which is responding to the petition. I won't go into the context or the background, but what the petition was saying was they're asking that close Reserve Street to through traffic and construct the missing section of Tabalban Street through the Koala Park area. So we've completed the study. The study collected a lot of data. We did a lot of traffic surveys. We did what we call origin and destination surveys and travel time surveys. We set up a local area traffic model, which helped us forecast what the future traffic patterns would be in the area. We did a road safety audit. We came up with a number of options. We went out and did some community consultation, and based on all the information we got from the data collection and the community consultation and the road safety audit, we put that through a multi-criteria analysis, and we prepared a technical report. And the agenda item today is summarising that. So the current situation is that the Koala Park route, so that's the route that some motorists take between the two major state roads in the area, West Burleigh Road and Gold Coast Highway. It does function as a major collector road. It's currently used by about 9,100 vehicles per day, and a large majority of the traffic on Tableband Street is through traffic. Now, the speed data we collected, it does have a 40 kilometre per hour speed limit, and the data we collected was that the average speed was 40 and the 85th percentile speed was 87, so 85% of motorists are travelling at 47 k's per hour or less. We looked at all the crash data over the last 5 years, so there was 2 reported crashes at the crest and curve at Tableband Street and Reserve Street, both involving motorcyclists who veered onto the wrong side of the road. We also looked at specifically accessing into and out of the private properties along Reserve Street, because a lot of the petitioners live on Reserve Street. The chief petitioner lives on Reserve Street, and most of the driveways along there do have good visibility, but there are a couple of driveways through there that are problematic in terms of their configuration of their driveways. We've also found that there are some retaining walls and some private landscaping that does encroach onto the road reserve that does cause some visibility problems. We came up with 3 options. Option A was status quo, so keeping the local road network as it is, but also looking at some local network improvements. Option B was to construct a Tableband Street link and close Reserve Street, so option B was what the petition premise was. And option C was to actually sever the Koala Park route, so basically no through traffic through that area. We went out and did community consultation undertaken in May and June of this year. It included a fact sheet and online content and a survey. We also conducted 3 information sessions, which were attended by about 200 people. The online survey, we received 362 responses, which we thought was a pretty good response, of which 94% were Koala Park residents. So we're getting the feedback from the overall Koala Park community, not just those people that live on Reserve Street. Now, the feedback we got, there was no clear consensus about closing or keeping the east-west link. But the feedback we did get was option B, which was the petition premise of constructing Tableband Street link, received the least amount of favour from the community. The survey also, the feedback we got from the survey was that many of the residents in the area did want us to improve the road safety, and particularly addressing things like speed, but also making sure that we minimise impacts on the local environment. The reason why it is called Koala Park is that there is a bushland reserve located to the north, which does contain a lot of koalas in that bushland reserve, and those environmental issues were also forefront of the community's feedback. So the local road network improvements, there's quite a few that we've identified as part of the study. They're all relatively low cost. Some of them are signs and line markings. Some of them are a little bit more involved, such as roundabouts and chevrons and things like that. So we've identified approximately 8 concepts that we'll now take away and do some more detailed engineering feasibility investigations. But there's one in particular at the crest and the curve of Tableband Street and Reserve Street, which we believe we can implement at low cost in the short term, very, very short term. You'll see attachment 1 contains those network improvements, which will now go away and do some more detailed engineering work on. So we did take those options through the evaluation, and as we said back last June, there are benefits and disbenefits of what the petition is proposing. And the overall, the study has found that the Koala Park route is performing as a major collector, not as a bypass link, and its current use is applicable to its function. Maintaining the existing Koala Park route and providing local road network improvements, so that's option A, presents the most practical solution, and safety and amenity premise of the petition can be addressed through the provision of the local network improvements. So as a response to the petition, we have conducted a very comprehensive study, and it is proposed that we reject the proposition made in the petition for those reasons I mentioned before, but to also implement some low-cost safety treatments at the Tabalban Street, Reserve Street crest and curve, and to also do that further detailed engineering investigations on those other 7 concepts we identified.
Thanks, Nick, for that. Councillors, any questions? Councillor McDonald.
Want me to stand or sit?
Stay seated. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I'd just like to thank the officers. They've done a considerable amount of work with this, and certainly with the information sessions. There was an extra session that was conducted, and I think with the feedback that we've got from the community there, people have certainly put their ideas and comments in. Because this area, look, as long as I can remember, that has been a problem in Koala Park and the traffic. And you'll see by some of the old traffic calming devices that have been put in there years ago. I can recall when up at in Ocean Parade and Reserve Street, where there was a gate actually put across the road there, but it was bulldozed so many times by motor vehicles, they had to remove it. And it was originally locked and only emergency services could go through there. So over the years, Tabalban Street has been a real big issue there. However, with the solutions that the officers have come up with, I'm not quite sure that this is the solution. I have spoken to the officers previous to this, and I just wondered, with some of the roundabouts that have been asked about to go in, whether or not that's going to create more problems. And I did ask that if some of these things could be removed if they didn't work. Now, a couple of our problems that haven't been included in this is Bellew Street and Gerald Avenue. Under the proposal from Main Roads, those streets are going to be closed off. Now, those streets are right next to the Gold Coast Highway, and that will mean all the traffic from Awunga and Bullimar will then come out into into this area and just make it more of a problem. So I'd like to see how it works. I know it's not going to solve the problem for those people in Reserve and Ocean, and unfortunately with that crash data, I don't think that crash data is correct, and I know and I do try and encourage people to continually report those crashes. Only last week, I think it was, I got something through and there was another crash there. So, it seems to happen on a weekly basis, but those crashes aren't being reported. So I'd like to thank the officers again, see how it works, but I'm sure this won't be the last time that we're coming back, because the traffic there is increasing, and we have instances where people get halfway up the hill, they can't make it, then they've got to come down. So there's a lot of issues in the area, and with our expected population growth, that's going to become quite a shortcut through there, as it is now at the present time. But that's not the only street that there is an issue in Waroo Street, just over on the western side of the hill. people are taking that as a shortcut. They're bypassing the Reddy Creek Road and going to Burleigh through that way. So it's adding problems for all those residents there. So, and I can only see all that traffic increasing, especially when I was at a function, not last weekend, the weekend before, and it took me just on a half an hour to get from Flays into Burleigh. So I can see why people are using that as a shortcut. So thanks for your work. I can't come up with a solution. I know the other solution in extending Tabalban Street was going to be a very expensive solution, and you know, there was concern about the conservation aspect. But as per another solution, I haven't got it. I know the community put up a few ideas, but we'll just have to see how this works out.
Councillor Vorster next, and then Councillor Peter Young. Was there anyone else? No? Thank you. Oh, nothing? Okay, thanks. Over to you, Herman. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Chair. Just through you to officers. Could I just get a better understanding of the state view on the function of the road network? I'm just cognizant of the fact we've got 2 state roads. They were engaged as stakeholders through this process.
Correct.
Do they express a view one way or the other?
No.
So from their perspective, there'd be no material impact on the state road network if we had to punch through?
Well, we did look at that as one of the options. That was options C, and the traffic modelling that we did said it does cause significant worsening of traffic congestion through the Burleigh Activity Centre. So that was all part of the study, was that option.
Sorry, severing the connection would create, right, but in terms of...
Option C.
But in terms of lifting amenity and safety in order to make it an easier trip, presumably that would induce a little bit more traffic. Correct. Through the area,
so
through Koala Park.
The modelling also picked that up, so it's inducing an extra 4,000 vehicles a day if we actually construct the Tabalban Street link.
An extra 4,000?
At a cost of $12 to $15 million.
Right, so my question is, along with the proposed treatments and what have you, little roundabouts and chicanes and all that, have we, and I apologise if I haven't picked this up in the report, but have we given thought to some wayfinding signage or signage that discourages non-local traffic?
Yep. So one of the solutions we've set here is we're looking at direction signs on the state roads.
Yes.
And we've also found those apps that you use in your car, like Google Maps,
Waze and Google Maps.
Like Waze, everyone's using Waze now, is actually directing people down there. So one of the actions that we said we need to fix that anomaly with the wayfinding.
And can I just say this? I mean, I've had very similar issues with Bayswater Avenue, for example, people leaving the Varsity Lakes Heavy Rail Station to get onto Christian Ave rat running. I've been onto Google twice. I found them the most reprehensible and disinterested organisation to deal with. They've absolutely shown no preparedness to try and digitally remove these rat runs from Google Maps. I've written several letters to Google on this precise issue. If you happen to have a breakthrough with Google on this particular issue, I'd appreciate the courtesy of knowing, so that I can forward my historic correspondence onto them. Because I think one of the sleeper issues we've got as a council is that we want to upgrade local roads, or we want to upgrade roads that should be carrying a lot of traffic. And often we will undertake traffic modelling to understand where demand is. But if that demand is being digitally shifted in real time into these rat runs, it becomes very difficult to actually, anticipate traffic and meet demand where it's going to be. Because an algorithmic change can shift it elsewhere.
Correct.
And then we might end up allocating capital where it's going to serve no benefit. So if you could do that, that'd be great. And sorry, I just had a question through you, Madam Chair, to Councillor McDonald. Sorry, it was not much sleep last night. I apologise, Councillor McDonald. Could you just restate that closure that you were talking about? The state government was going to close a road.
There are two little streets that are adjacent to the Gold Coast Highway.
Yep.
It's
It's on here.
Yep. So they're going to close that off for the light rail.
yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And what happens? It takes a lot of traffic off that road because people come out of there instead of getting onto the main road.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I should have clarified at the time. Sorry, Nick. That directional signage, is that to direct people past Koala Park? So there's not going to be any signage that says local traffic only or local traffic preferred? I suppose that's what I was looking for.
These are more the direction signs, you know, the green and white signs you see?
Yeah.
And they normally have a target suburb on them.
Yes.
So it's the directions. There's a lack of direction sign there too. So if you're a motorist from out of you know, you're a visitor.
Yes.
And you're not used to the network, you look at the direction signs and it will keep you on the state network.
So sometimes I've seen signs that say ignore GPS.
Have you?
I have. Yeah. Where I'm just given that Waze and Google Maps might be directing traffic into Koala Park to get to Burleigh, I'd just be interested in whether we can look at amending those signs or a recommendation to the state to direct people, say, you know, Burleigh this way, ignore GPS, so that it's not taking people relying on GPS, i.e. non-locals, through Koala Park. Yeah.
Through you, Madam Chair, and I think Councillor Peter Young might have a comment about this as well. We've had a change of leadership, as you know, at the district office in the last few months, so we can certainly ask the questions again.
No, I didn't know that.
With respect to that, with Andrew Wheeler now being the regional director. So certainly past attempts through Councillor Peter Young to, I think it's Clagborough Road, whereby unfortunately the request to install some more ignore GPS, stay on state route signs were rejected by the previous regional director, but we can certainly, and by the minister as well.
No, I think it's worth having a fresh run. How do you feel?
So the city installed those in
I've never...
Riverstone Crossing when the bridge blew out because people were seeking to use GPS to go up and over and connect through to Grey Sky to Memorial. So it makes sense to do it whenever we can.
Yeah, I think we can certainly ask the question again, Madam Chair. Yeah.
No other questions, councillors? We've got a recommendation there in front of us, so if I can have a mover. Councillor Peter Young moved, second Councillor Owen Jones. All those in favour? That's carried. Item 6.4, I think, Nick. Was there any questions here, councillors? Did we want a presentation or... Councillor Owen Jones?
So I don't need a presentation, but I'd just like to make a couple of comments and maybe a suggested change to the recommendation. So in terms of the recommendation, when we get to 1E, the suggestion of the officers is that we install a blister island on Linfield Road at the northern end of the passenger. And this is the area where it is, if you go to page 37, there's a picture. Cars have queued there in the lead up to the Kiss and Go area not that long ago, which was the cause of the petition. The Park Safe car went through and ticketed people for stopping on the yellow line. In fact, some of them was not only stopped on the yellow line, they were also stopped on the pedestrian footpath. And so the suggestion of E is to effectively install a blister island to help prevent that from happening. I'd be interested in changing the words so that it read trial the installation of a blister island, and then at the end at Linfield Road, So at the end of the sentence where it says Linfield Road, with a review to be carried out on the benefits after the end of the second term of the 2023 school year. With the benefits after the end of the second term of the 2023 school year. So I had a chat to Mr. Tilley just before the commencement of the meeting, and if the Blister Island was a temporary piece of infrastructure that was put in over the December break, 2 terms will give us a pretty clear idea as to whether or not it is working or not working. And then in regards to H, if we could make H a new number 2. And change those words, the Director of Transport and Infrastructure, right to the Education Queensland. So remove the word, yeah. And then at the end where it says future demand full stop, I'm interested in adding the words in particular seeking a time frame for improvements. And in the report it talked about how that the state were investigating. The school's 38 years old, so it might be time for them to formalise their on-site parking. And then the old 2 would become the new 3.
I'm happy to second that.
Thank you. And if I could just speak briefly to it. So we received a petition which we encouraged at the time. There was a parent that was particularly disappointed to have received a penalty infringement notice for parking on the yellow line, and they were interested in improvements around the school area. It would be fair to say, I think since the school opened, we've been working progressively on trying to improve the way students arrive and leave the school. The school's the 5th largest school on the Gold Coast with just over 1,000 young people that turn up every day. There were also numerous complaints that had been received over time as well. So the report does identify that there was 79 complaints. There are a couple of residents in the area who are unhappy with some of the school traffic, but I would suggest the majority of those complaints probably came from parents and carers who were also concerned about the movement of cars in and around the pickup zone. I know that my experience is that there are some parents that have chosen to park in the bus zone, and that upsets the arrival and departure of the buses. So I would assume that that might be some of those 79 complaints. But part of the challenge that the report's identified is that the school, being a large school, has 94 car spaces within the grounds for the teachers. The state is responsible for the delivery of infrastructure at the schools, and their own guidelines suggest that they should have 140 spaces within the school grounds. Of the 94 car spaces, there are 8 formal car spaces and 86 informal car spaces, which is basically a free-for-all for teachers to park on a gravel area within the school grounds. So I think that the idea of the Director of Transport and Infrastructure writing to the department and also seeking a timeline is a good opportunity for the city to attempt to influence some of the direction of the state in regards to the provision of infrastructure. I know that the local state member has been approached in the past in regards to penalty infringement notices, so it might be a useful angle for him to latch onto as well in regards to the need for the state to invest in infrastructure at the school. There are 443 on-street car spaces within a 400-metre walk of the school, and the school has previously been a participant in the active school travel program. So one of the outcomes of G, I think, is good, and it's one of the things that I think we should try to do with as many of our schools as possible, and that's actually map out for parents to be given as a piece of collateral as to how many car spaces there actually are near the schools and how many opportunities they have, rather than turning up at 2:15 and sitting in the car in the kiss and go zone. They could turn up at 10 to 3 and walk 300 metres and pick up their children, and that type of change of behaviour would go a long way towards resolving that peak challenge that we have at all of the schools around 3:10. So I don't have anything more to say other than the fact that I thank the officers for the work, and I thank them for working with both the Department of Education and the executive at the school. They were really impressed with the officers that came out and took the time to talk them through the issues.
Thanks, Councillor Owen-Jones. I go to Councillor Peter Young.
Chair, I've just got a question, if you don't mind.
Yes.
So I'm supportive of the motion in front of us, and I don't want to bog the meeting down with complaints about schools because we all have them. But recently, the Pacific Pines State High School went through a ministerial infrastructure designation, and through an MID, they expanded the facilities at the school, and that's great. There's a growing population, and they increased the amount of staff car parking on site, but in the council-provided facility outside the school grounds, effectively, the MID implemented a 15-minute time limit, which has drawn a lot of discontent from the community, including school students, high school students who want to park and then drive to get to work after or whatever. So I wondered if a petition like this might be the best way forward for me to explore the various options at the school, or if the acting director's advice is just to stick with the CR, which I've already lodged.
Through you, Madam Chair, I think, Councillor Young, if we can stick with the CR to start with and see what the outcomes of the investigation are and see if they meet the requirements for the community, and we can go from there.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Chair.
Councillor Gates.
Thanks. I have two queries. One relating to Councillor Young's query. How do they do that when it becomes council-controlled land, that car park that's external to the teachers' car park? How come, they come to council for any improvements or anything else that they want in that space, but is the school able to do that?
I think through you, Madam Chair, I think, Nick, you've do to work with the educator. I think it's through the ministerial delegation that they have the powers to do that.
Oh, okay.
Councillor Gates, yeah.
It's interesting. Thank you.
If I might, in fact, council was approached and provided input which contested the thoughts behind or what the state was proposing, and identified numerous problems with what was being proposed, but our complaints were ignored.
So who enforces it, that 15-minute?
Through you, Madam Chair, that would be our parking enforcement officers.
Yeah.
Interesting. My other question was, since it's going to be a trial Blister Island, is there a cheaper trial Blister Island than doing the full-blown job? There is.
Yeah, we can drop some infrastructure up basically on the road surface, which causes little to no impact to the actual service. Yeah.
Thank you.
We did a lot of those style overlays for the Commonwealth Games.
Great.
Councillor Vorster.
Thanks, Madam Chair, and I just want to indulge in another gratuitous kick at the state government. And maybe for those councillors who are not across this, but as part of the recent state budget, the government announced a $40 million fund to support the delivery of transport infrastructure in and around schools. That project, in my experience, or that initiative, has been absolutely a confused rabble of a mess. That program is there to support the delivery of things like signalised pedestrian crossings, new footpaths, active transport infrastructure, and things like say, car parking facilities on campus. And it's not just for infrastructure on school grounds, but also around the school. So I'm thinking, great, this is a way that the state government can kind of repay the many millions of dollars that ratepayers have invested in unscrambling an egg around their schools. A number of members of my community, and I just want to flag this so that you're aware of it, a number of members of my community lodged suggestions under that state program only to be told by TMR that projects on the council road network were not eligible, even though it was advertised in the ministerial statement as being fully eligible. So I wrote to the DG of TMR and I basically said, who's wrong? Is the minister wrong or is your officer wrong? And I received an apology from the DG who explained, no, that their officer was wrong and that the initiative was rushed through so quickly that they weren't really across the detail of the eligibility. I just wanted to flag that because if you have members of your community who are lodging ideas and they've received advice that they're ineligible, it's probably worth encouraging them to have another fresh application, because I've kind of made the point to the DG there needs to be a little bit more oversight. The other thing that I want to flag, and I do have a letter sitting with our CEO on this, is Councillor Owen-Jones is clearly across the issues around Helensvale, right? I'm very across the issues of Varsity College, and I'm sure all of us are across the issues around our various schools based on feedback that we have had from residents. I'm a little bit concerned that when our city officers are dealing with TMR to discuss some of these suggestions under the STIP program, that some of our collective wisdom around the transport issues around schools are not being properly represented in our discussions with TMR. That's my worry. I've got a request for advice sitting with our CEO, and I hope to have that concern dispelled. But I think it's very important that if we have STIP projects nominated by the community that come across the desks of our city officers for comment, that the respective local councillors are engaged to provide a little bit of input. Because often we hear stuff from a broader community that might not be captured by PNC or that the school staff respectively. And I just want to flag that again in the context of this, because if there is some infrastructure around Helensvale that we need to fund in future years, or if we want to make that little blister permanent, it could be that this is a good project to nominate under the STIP program. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Vorster. Is there any other questions, councillors? So I've got the change recommendation there, moved by Councillor Owen-Jones, seconded by Councillor Peter Young. Are we all in favour? That's carried. Thank you, councillors. We go on to 6.5, which is a presentation on major public transport projects update.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, thank you, Madam Chair. So, we thought it was timely, councillors, to give you an update on 4 relatively large projects that we've been working on with our state government counterparts for some time now. So we are we're moving to closed at all? No, it's no. I think if you don't mind, I think it might be beneficial to have an open conversation, councillor.
Councillors, if there's confidential information, this was moved into close by Councillor Vorster, seconded by myself. All those in favour? That's carried. We have Okay, noted.
Through Madam Chair, not necessarily. It's provided for your information. As we described today, some of the projects are still works in progress. So I'd ask you to perhaps use discretion about if you did want to, if you do specifically want to share any information or promote any information, please. I might take those questions individually, and we can check with our state counterparts if they're okay with that.
Councillors, we're back into open now. Next item is 6.6, City of Gold Coast Local Disaster Management Plan. Councillor McDonald, you asked that to be unstarred. Did you have a question?
Just a question. After the last event in February of this year, I did ask, because I had a lot of feedback, as you know, Councillor Hemmel and my area was a couple of the areas that were badly impacted, and I did ask, to be consulted with any updates. Nothing ever happened, because I think that there are people on the ground there in the community who have a lot of valuable information that could be put into our management in before, during and after, and I know that that's really important. So again, I'd like to speak to some of the officers involved, because there are areas there that I think that need to be addressed.
Thanks, Councillor McDonald. Councillors, did we want a presentation on this, or can we take it as read? Did anyone have any questions? Do we want a presentation? No? Everyone's happy with that?
Sorry? No, that's okay. Thank you.
Yes. We're all happy with that. So if we can have someone move the report. Happy to Councillor Peter Young, Councillor Owen Jones as seconder. All those in favour? I actually thought it was. Yes.
It hasn't weakened over 6 months. It's good to see you nip the tie up a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Changeover of staff with the disaster management centre recently, but we'll certainly re-establish those lines of communication. Yep.
Councillors, our final agenda item today, design and construction of landslip remediation works at various citywide locations. It's actually on grey paper for local government budget reasons and negotiations relating to a commercial matter. If I could have someone move us into closed. Councillor Owen Jones moved us into closed. Second, myself. All those in favour? If you could turn back in open. All right. Councillors, we went into close for a couple of in confidence questions on item 7.1, and we've got a recommendation there in front of us. If I could have a mover, which is Councillor, I'm happy to move it, seconded by Councillor Peter Young. All those in favour? That is carried. 7.1. That's all of our agenda items for today. We've got one GB item from Councillor Peter Young, and I believe he's supplied the wording to the Minute Secretary.
Yes.
And if you'd like to talk us through that, Councillor Young.
So thanks, Chairman. The motion is to increase the budget for project 20213, which is for tree lighting in Salvado Drive, Pacific Pines, by $21,000 from $20,000 to $41,000 as an increase to the initial budget allocation for the project.
Happy to second that, Councillor Patterson. So
I did. It's there now. Just gone in above recommendation. Yep, it wasn't there. Yeah, so that it's pretty simple. The project exists. They've done some analysis and identified the proper costing, and I'm happy to support that. And
okay,
hope to
thank
get
you,
council
Councillor
support.
Young.
Thank you.
So that general business item there, councillors, moved by Councillor Peter Young, seconded by Councillor Brooke Patterson. All those in favour? That's carried. Councillors, are there any other general business items? No, there's not. Declare the meeting closed at 2:57.